Yo, what's up, everybody? It's DFS Dudes. I'm here with my boy Detroit Beastie. We're here to present to you our MLB On Deck video where we break down the entire slate, game by game, give you a couple picks here and there of guys we're liking. If you want a more in-depth analysis as far as core plays go and picks, make sure you check out our MLB Core Plays video where we give you our cash game core plays, our crush plays, and then my stacks of the night. So we're really here to kind of just get you going and on the right kind of teams, plays, give you some perspective from the home side and the visiting side. I'll take the visiting side. Chris take the home side in this one. So what's up, man? How you doing? Nice job yesterday holding the fort down by yourself.
Thanks you. I think it's allotted me more time on the site as far as broadcasting is concerned. It was a hit from what I understand. There was a couple million views. I've received thousands of messages. So I think I've earned a place in the natural broadcasting rotation here on the cheat sheet.
2.6 million views is what I saw.
That's fantastic. I love it.
Let's jump into it, man. So the first game on the slate, we've got the Mets. They're moving into Washington. They'll face Patrick Corbin tonight. I'll get it started with the Mets. Steven Matz in this one for the Mets. Not a pitcher that I'm going to be on today. I don't like his ISO numbers. He had a decent start his first time out, but my problem with the Mets, and especially as you get down the rotation with a guy like Steven Matz, is it's a guy, he has not had the Tommy John surgery, and it's a guy who's a high slider pitcher, just like DeGrom, just like Syndergaard, and I've talked about this like before, these guys have elbow issues, and Matz is a guy, until I kind of know he's okay and that elbow is fine, it's a guy I'm going to continue to fade. The price tag to me is too expensive to start with the 7,900, and his last outing against the Red Sox, he had 8 hits, 2 walks, only 3 strikeouts. He limited the damage to only 3 earned runs, but definitely was not. I will tell you this. It seems, I don't want to say like every time we come on here that I won a big tournament, but I did win 2 years ago. I won, I think, $20,000 early only tournament, and I was like 80% on Matz. So Matz does have some good history against Washington, but this is really a different Washington lineup without Bryce Harper and without Rendon. You put a guy like Howie Kendrick in the 3-hole today. They've got Trey Turner, leading off. So it's a little bit different, and I just don't like Matt. So as far as the hitters go on this side, for me, it's going to start and finish with Pete Alonso. You're going against a left-handed pitcher who's got a lot of strikeout upside. Alonso, 167 batting average this year. He has scored 5 runs, but only the 1 home run. To me, that's a good matchup from a left on right perspective, but I'm staying away from the Mets. If you want to stack the Mets today, this would be a stack that you would use knowing that it's going to be lower owned and trying to get into that bullpen of the Washington Nationals, which over the years has not been very good. You'd be hoping that, so if you wanted to build a unique single entry lineup with using Patrick Corbin and using a McNeil or a Conforto or an Alonso, even a Ahmed Rosario in your lineup, as a one-off play against your pitcher to be extremely different, and bank on the fact that, hey, Corbin's going to do his thing, but maybe the Mets in the 7th, 8th, and 9th put some runs up against that really bad Washington bullpen. That's the only thing for me, and I'm kind of stretching here to get some exposure to the Mets, but that's the only way I would do it.
No, and I agree with you big time. Matz has never done anything special for me, to warrant starting him. In turn, I'd rather start some Washington Nationals here. In the crush spot published this morning, I mentioned Starlin Castro big time. Looks like he's batting 5th today. He's $2,400 on FanDuel. It does get a little bit cheaper than that, but on DraftKings he's $3,300. And he's a guy that year in and year out, people don't pay attention to him. He's a starting second baseman for Washington. He was with Miami last year. He just does it day in and day out, but he's not a superstar, so people don't really pay attention to him. But tonight, I think he gets over on the Mets here, and I also love Adam Eaton batting 2nd right after Trey Turner. I know Steph earlier mentioned Howie Kendrick, who's batting 3rd, so I love Eaton and Castro as maybe just a little smaller mini stack for Washington today. If you look at it, Eaton's $2,700. That's pretty nice price, I would say.
Absolutely, for a guy who's got home run upside. So moving on, Toronto with Atlanta. I know I caught a little bit of flack in the chat on our core plays video for not being on Max Fried. That's your side of it. You could talk about Fried if you want to. For me, on the Toronto side with Matt Shoemaker, I have no problem loading this guy up in tournaments tonight for one simple fact. Actually, I'll give you two. If you look at Shoemaker and his last outing, he had a really solid start. I mean, a really solid start. And if you look at Shoemaker as a whole, it's a guy for his career is really, really, really under the radar. You look at last season, his ISO numbers, which I think are the most telling stat and most important stat for fantasy purposes. A 118 ISO to lefties, a 134 ISO to righties. You can look at the ground ball percentage of 58.1% ground ball percentage to lefties and a 42.9% ground ball percentage to righties. So Shoemaker's a guy for me in tournaments today that I think you can be all over, especially for this price tag, and allow you to load up on some of the bigger bats like a Mike Trout or Coors Field, some of these other guys that are higher price on the slate. I love Shoemaker at 7,500. He has all the ability in the world to get you strikeouts, has an unbelievable forkball, has an unbelievable curveball. For him, it's always going to be about can he locate the fastball and mix in his other pitches. And so far through one start, it looked like he did a pretty good job. As far as flipping this thing around for Toronto, I'm really not going to be on Toronto today. For me, the only reason I didn't mention Fried earlier is I'm just not excited to play Fried in DFS, especially with where his price tag is at $8,500. I think there's some better value dollar for dollar out there today. I don't have a problem with using Fried in tournaments, but I'm not going to stack up Toronto against him. If you wanted to get some one-off guys, I would look no further than like a Vlad Guerrero, a Kevin Biggio to get the left-on-right matchup going. But as a stack, I'm not really on Toronto day at all.
Well, in terms of Atlanta today, if you look at the weather, it's hot. I know you love when it's hot like that, and there's a little breeze coming in. It's going to be 86 to 87 degrees tonight. It looks like the wind is going out to right field anywhere between 5 and 7 miles per hour. But the big news to me is they've moved Dansby Swanson up. Looks to be batting second tonight at only $3,100. I'm all over Acuna tonight too. He's leading off still. $3,700. Again, I said it yesterday. When we do these daily videos, we tend to repeat ourselves. But if you like the spot, you like the player, then who am I to skip it just because it's a repeat? So tonight, I love 1 through 3 tonight for them. Acuna batting off, Dansby, and then Freddie Freeman. Freeman was in crush spot. I might even get ambitious and say I could see a back-to-back home run scenario to right field tonight between Acuna and Swanson. So let's put it in stone. We'll book it back-to-back. Acuna, Swanson tonight, right field, as you put it. That hot, balmy weather, I think, is your term you like to use. And I have no stats or nothing to back it up. I'm just looking at the players and what they've done in the past and how I've used them in my process over the years.
So I love, and I'm not going to say you're wrong. I think under normal circumstances, you're right. For me, for this spot, when I say Shoemaker, if Shoemaker was a guy who was, a 40% fly ball guy, I would not be saying the things I'm saying about Shoemaker. But because of the things you've said, I think Shoemaker is such a great contrarian play in tournaments as a pitcher tonight. High ground ball percentage guy who gets a lot of outs on the forkball, gets a lot of outs on the curveball. I just think that I'm glad to hear you say that because it kind of solidifies my thinking with being contrarian with Shoemaker, if that makes sense. Let me ask you a question before we move on. Do you think they need to move Acuna into the 2 or 3 hole?
I think that, they'd be better suited. I believe the lineup would be better if you could have Freeman leading off, right? Because he's a high on base guy. I mean, he's got everything. He's got power. He hits for average, but because his batting average just always stays above 300, it's a good move to have him leading off. And then let's say, as Ben wanted me to say, a Matt Adams batting second, although he's not in the lineup all the time. But I would like to see, and Ben, chime in. Ben, one of our writers, he's watching today, he's commenting here. I would have Freeman leading off and then leave Dansby number 2, and then you can put Acuna third, or maybe switch him and Ozuna out 3 and 4, but then you got to put Albies in there somewhere too. I think Dansby and Albies would make for a good 2, and then whoever's not 2. So let me slow down. I'm getting ahead of myself. Freeman leading off, right? Albies batting second. We could go, who did I miss? Acuna third, and then Ozuna leadoff like he normally does.
See, I would go I would go Albie, Swanson, Acuna, Freeman, Ozuna, Adams. That's how I think their lineup should roll. I just think that you're asking what you need Acuna to do for you is not get on first base and steal. You need Acuna to mash, right? That's what you need Acuna to do. Can he do the other things? Yeah, but I'm watching a lot of Atlanta and watching his at bats in the first inning when he leads it off. He doesn't. For one, he doesn't look comfortable as a leadoff hitter. I mean, and he doesn't take enough pitches, in my opinion, to give everybody in the dugout a good look at the pitcher. Put Ozzy Albies up there, and then you've got a guy like Swanson in the 2-hole that can do all of the other things. He can, hit a ball to the right side. He can bunt and move Albies over. He can hit and run with Albies. That's a 2-man game you could play there. And then you bring up your mashers. Lead it off with Acuna. Freeman, the best overall hitter on that team, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
An RBI guy like Ozuna. And then, oh, by the way, you follow that up with a Matt Adams who can knock the ball out of the park at any given time or get you the fly ball and the sac fly. So I was curious what you thought, because to me, I feel like they're not going to get what they need to get out of Acuna by leading them off.
I thought I'll be honest with you for a second, because Benny Boy commented, he said, Ozzy, Freeman, Dansby, Acuna, Ozuna. So I thought you were stealing what he said, but then you switched your last.
Didn't even see it. I'll have to get that and look at. Oh yeah, so Ozzy, Freeman. No, I think Ozzy, Freeman. Look, in baseball, to me, the best hitter on your team is who you put in the 3 spot. You try to protect them with a guy in front of them and a couple guys behind them. Freeman is the best hitter on that team, but they want to make that transition, and they made the commitment to Acuna. I think that Freeman would be a really nice cleanup hitter. I would definitely get Swanson and Albies though at the top of that lineup. Moving on, Miami is back on the slate after a long delay with COVID. Don't know if anybody saw this, but Derek Jeter pretty much threw his team under the bus and said that it was their own fault. They all got sick. They just relaxed. They didn't take any precautions to avoid take any precautions to protect themselves. They just kind of avoided wearing a mask. They avoided any of the rules they put in place, and they all went out and tested positive. The good news for the Marlins, as is the good news with the Cardinals, is everybody who's tested positive has very, very, very mild symptoms or is asymptomatic. So that's good news across the board. On the Miami side, it's really wait and see for me. John Means is a guy, I'll be honest with you. I don't want to steal too much of your thunder, but Means is a guy that I used quite a bit last year in tournaments. I know if you look at his game log, he had -2 points against the Yankees, but if you look deeper into that, the Yankees hit 69 home runs against Baltimore last year and did exactly what they did last year to Baltimore and John Means. Is John Means a quality pitcher? I'll use my term. He's a professional, right? John Means, I think, can go out and for $5,800 today in tournaments against Miami, who hasn't played in what seems like a month. I think John Means is a super under the radar play, and I'm avoiding Miami in this matchup because I think John Means gets a quality 5 innings to 6 innings, maybe he gets you a quality start today. I think he has a pretty solid outing, and I like what I'm sure you're going to mention, some of the bats, mainly left-handed bats in this lineup going against Pablo Lopez.
Absolutely. And in Baltimore's lineup, looking at it now, they have a switch hitter and Anthony Santander. He's batting 4th for them tonight, and he's $2,900. And the only legit left-handed bat they have is Chris Davis tonight, and he's $2,100. You couldn't pay me to play him tonight. And the only other switch hitter in that lineup is Cedric Mullins, $2,000. I have him projected at like 5 or 6 fantasy points. It's really not worth it. Baltimore's a full fade for me today. And as you kind of alluded to it, you're wait and see with Miami. I couldn't agree more with you. I'm just fading this game altogether. I don't see too much pop or, a lot of spark in this lineup. The one thing I will say in Miami, a guy I've been excited about all season in seasonal and DFS was Jonathan Villar leading off. He does everything, right? He came from Baltimore to Miami. He gets on base. He steals. He has the pop. He's leading off tonight for Miami. He's $2,700. And he's one of those guys where no matter how much time he takes away from the game or, the resting and the COVID stuff, you can trust him to, hit the ball and get on base. So of this game, and the only guy I would consider playing is Jonathan Villar here for $2,700.
Moving on, we'll keep it pushing and get to a more exciting game where you've got two really good pitchers in Giolito and Brandon Woodruff. Giolito, a guy that we both liked, I believe, in our award show to contend for a Cy Young, gets blown up by Minnesota, goes 3 2/3, -1 point, but then comes out against a hot Cleveland team, goes 6 innings, strikes out 6, no earned runs, gets you a quality start, puts up 40 fantasy points. Milwaukee's lineup is absent some of the thump that it's had, and Christian Yelich is not off to a really good start. You can make an argument that the best player right now, early in the season in Milwaukee, is Keston Hiura, and it's not the worst matchup in the world for Giolito. It's a right-on-right matchup. So I like Giolito, and I mentioned this in my core plays video earlier. I really think that Giolito sandwiched between a Corbin, Woodruff's 9,200. Hendricks is at 8,400 on FanDuel. I think Giolito goes really under-owned in this spot going against, Milwaukee's more reputation than anything else. People will look, Giolito, he got blown up. We don't really know yet. He's going against Milwaukee. Milwaukee to score runs. I'll just fade Giolito. I think this is a good spot to pay up for Giolito in tournaments because he gives you a ton of upside. The bats, MLB pipeline, look, you heard it here first, right there at Detroit, BC. Go look at it. I'm absolutely shocked. MLB Pipeline released their rankings today, and they've got another guy you've been big on, which is Lewis in Seattle. They have him 1, and they have Luis Robert 2. I disagree with that. Maybe you could provide some insight on that, but Luis Robert, man, this guy is just he reminds me so much. There's parallels between Luis Robert for me and Tyreek Hill, because you talk about a guy like Tyreek Hill. My kind of phrase with him is he's just an electric football player. Luis Robert is an electric baseball player. This guy's fun to watch. I mentioned this earlier, but look at last night, right? August 1st, they move him to the leadoff spot. He goes 4 for 6, 2 doubles, a home run, puts up 40 fantasy points. And it wasn't a cheap home run either. It was a bomb. Last night, he walks twice. He gets 1 hit. He scores 2 runs. And Abreu hits a 2-run bomb. He has 25.7 fantasy points. But Luis Robert has 27.4 with 1 little hit and did all of the other things. And that's what I think is so exciting about Luis Robert. And you said it best, and you said it first. You said this guy has all of the tools. He can do everything. And last night was a clear demonstration. The only thing he missed really would have been a home run. So to me, this stack starts with Luis Robert. I recommend getting him as one-off plays and getting some exposure to him that way, especially in single entries. Or if you're going to play some 4x3 tournaments or 4x3 stacks in tournaments, I would definitely get that one-off play with Luis Robert. As a stack, I definitely think this is a valid stack going against Woodruff. I think it's a contrarian play because Woodruff has been a solid pitcher over the years. He's been, he's 1 for 2 as far as starts go, but Abreu, Encarnacion, Grandal, you got all of these guys in this lineup, not to mention Nick Mardigras, another guy who I know you're high on. And I haven't even got to Moncada. I haven't even got to Tim Anderson, who's on the IL. But they've got this White Sox lineup is deep. It's one of the deeper lineups in baseball. And yes, it started slow, but this is a team both of us fully expect to get hot and continue to put up runs.
Absolutely. And I never do a lot of things right, and I say it a lot. I never want to be or act like the smartest man in the room, but I do love prospects. Again, not saying I'm the best at ranking them or talking about them. I just love looking into them and watching film, and I'd love to be able to, in the future, travel around and just spend the spring at the Grapefruit League or Cactus League watching these kids play. Another day and time. Well, today, you're paying me to talk about the home team. So I got Milwaukee in front of me. Look at their lineup tonight. 6 out of the 9 guys batting are left-handed tonight. And the 7th is Justin Smoke. He's a switch hitter. I would imagine he's going to bat from the left side of the plate as often as possible, going against Giolito, the right-handed pitcher. It's not all that warm there. It's like 68 degrees in Milwaukee tonight. 7-mile-an-hour winds going to right center field. But again,
it'll be closed. It'll be closed up. We know that.
Going back to the well here, as you said, Keston Hiura, $3,500. I like him. I like Smoke. And I really like the guys at the bottom of the lineup tonight. Batting 8th, Ben Gamel came over from Seattle. He's $2,600. And Brock Holt, people maybe forgot about him. He was Boston's utility knife for how long, and now he's in Milwaukee. He's $2,100. Looks like he's starting at shortstop tonight, batting ninth. And as you've put it, that ninth batter and that leadoff hitter, they have, let's say the most chances of getting that extra at bat in a game. So Ben Gamble, Brock Holt, and probably Justin Smoke for me tonight. No rhyme or reason.
Moving on, we've got the Royals moving in. They're staying in Wrigley Field. And I think that you're going to see the Cubs be a pretty popular stack tonight. I really do. I think that the Cubs, a lot of people don't do all of the research. That's why we're here to help you guys out, because we do all the research. And Chris just mentioned it. He loves prospects. Another prospect that you and I are both high on is Brady Singer. And this guy has a ton of arm talent. And if you haven't watched Brady Singer pitch, tune in tonight and watch him pitch a couple of innings. Just watch him pitch a couple of innings. His windup is so unique and so fast, and then he throws 95 miles an hour. So, I mean, the way that it's very unique. His pitching style is very unique. Would you agree?
Absolutely, yeah.
I mean, it's a very quick, one step into the windup, and I mean, he's on you, and that can be uncomfortable. The last start, in my opinion, is very, very deceiving because he gave up 5 hits. He only had 18 fantasy points. He didn't have it, right? You could tell he didn't have any control over the fastball, and the fastball was really running, and it was running into right-handed hitters against Detroit. So he was trying to start that fastball over the outside and let it run in, and Cabrera, he let it run right over the middle of the plate. Cabrera got him for a home run, but it was a misleading start. I don't have the weather in front of me, but let me pull that up really quick, because if the wind is still blowing in, and it's blowing 69 in at 10 miles per hour, so it's not warm. The wind's blowing in. I think Brady Singer, another one of these guys that allows you to stack up tonight with a lot of upside at a very cheap price, especially over on FanDuel, where Singer comes in at $6,400 and he's not coming off a great start. Where we recommended him and he didn't have he only had to put up 18 fantasy points, and it wasn't a good start. So my recommendation is reload Singer. Wind's blowing in. Just watch him and you'll understand what I'm talking about with the explosiveness and the movement on the fastball and the very fast windup he has, and he gets up on top of you very fast. As far as the bats go, full fade for me with Kansas City. I don't want anything to do with any of these bats. There's way better spots to look at. There's nothing to be sneaky with here. Kyle Hendricks has been solid. I'm really moving on. But Brady Singer is a guy I will have exposure to in tournaments tonight.
Well, here's my thing. In terms of the Chicago hitters, I think tonight, as you said, Chicago might be a popular stack in tournaments and maybe even cash games. And that's fine. Let everybody else stack them, because I think this has all the makings of a major letdown for people that stack Chicago. If you look back to Singer's last outing against my Tigers, he didn't do a lot of things right, but he threw a lot of strikes. 54 of his 82 pitches were strikes. So when you got a kid that can pitch like that and works up the confidence, he's gonna put it together. Maybe not all at once, but slowly and surely, and he's starting to do that. Will it all come together tonight in Chicago? I don't know, but I am confident in saying that it comes together enough where he's going to completely stifle Chicago's bats. And when I say that, I'm not talking major punch outs for fantasy points galore for Singer. I'm talking ground outs, fly outs. So we're going to see a lot of goose eggs, 3-6 points for guys like Bryant and Rizzo and everything. So again, if people want to stack Chicago, be my guest. Let me know what tournaments you're in. I'll be there with a separate stack.
I can't emphasize this enough. And you're a humble dude, okay? You're a humble dude. So I don't want to put this on blast, but both of us played baseball past high school. Fair to say?
Yeah.
I can't tell you as a hitter how uncomfortable it is to face a guy who's 6'5", 6'6" to start with.
It's like,
and then when you take a guy who is on one side of the rubber and comes at you with a little cross action, it's very uncomfortable. So you take those two things, which this kid has, he's 6'5". You take in what you just said, he threw 52 or 54 strikes out of 82 pitches. He couldn't find it in that start. I'm telling you, if you watched it, his fastball had so much run on it that he didn't know where to start it at, and that's where his struggle was. This guy, the way he winds up and at the speed he winds up, and then the height, and then the accuracy that he throws with, going into it. If you're watching film on this guy, you're like, okay, I have to get ready faster. I got to get my timing mechanism going a little quicker. You look at a guy like a Schwarber or a Rizzo who have, they've got the big leg kick in their swing. That's their timing mechanism. I mean, you're going to be completely off balance and in your head before you get into the box to face this guy the first time. So I couldn't agree with you more. I think Chicago is a major letdown, and we're just going to keep it pushing. Coors Field. I mean, I don't think we have to get in depth. We're not going to come with you to steal your line, some hard-hitting analysis that you don't already know. Get exposure to this game. Starting with the Giants, complete fade at the pitching spot with Gausman. But Mike Yastrzemski leading off, a guy I absolutely loved yesterday. We both love this guy. Goes 1 for 3, hits a 2-run bomb, has 25 fantasy points. Dickerson, another guy I really love in this lineup. For me, looking at the Giants lineup and the way it shakes out tonight, I like, Brandon Belt at 3,500 at Coors Field is a very fair price tag. I love Duggar and the 9-hole, only 2,500. You don't often get a chance to load a guy up at 2,500 at Coors Field. Duggar's a guy that can. He's a gap-to-gap hitter, can even sneak one out of the ballpark with a long ball, and he can steal you bases. So I think there's going to be a lot of runs scored in this game. I really like Dickerson. I like Duggar. I like Yastrzemski. That's kind of where I would center that stack around, is those 3 guys. If you needed another guy to make it a 4-man stack, you've got Longoria coming back, professional baseball player hitting cleanup. You've also got Pablo Sandoval, where anything can happen with Sandoval on any given night, hitting in the 5 spot. So 1 through 5, you can add in the 9 guy with Duggar. I think those 6 guys are all in play. I like 3-man and 4-man stacks with San Francisco tonight. Extremely cheap, in my opinion, for Coors Field.
Absolutely. And on the Colorado side of things, not going to hammer anything home, bang you over the head with a stack. We know what we're going to get with Story, Blackman, Arenado. 2 guys I want to touch on real quick. David Dahl, batting leadoff. He's one of those guys, always has, not to be pessimistic or sound like a jerk, but we know he's always injured and he misses games and he gets on the IL. But when he's in the lineup, get him in your fantasy lineups. He's batting leadoff again. He's $3,800 on FanDuel. Left-handed batter against Gausman, who is not – we can't call it – I mean, he's a professional baseball player in the sense, yeah, he plays professional Major League Baseball, but he's not a good pitcher. He cannot, sustain anything of sustenance, however you want to put it. So David Dahl, Chris Owings last night, that was a good call. You texted me, he hit a bomb last night. Do we go back to the well tonight for $2,600? Absolutely, while they're in Coors. And one other guy, Daniel Murphy, first baseman, looks to be batting 5th tonight, $3,400. He had kind of an off year last year. He's a career 310, 308 average guy. That's what he does. He gets base knocks. He gets on base. He's early 30s. He doesn't have the wheels anymore, so he's not going to hit a base knock, steal you second, but he's going to get on base. When you get on base, good things happen. Dahl and Daniel Murphy for me tonight in Colorado, and the usual suspects.
So this is where the slate gets interesting to me, because I love the late night slate. Really nice $5.55 tournament over there on FanDuel with 4 games on it. Typically, the way the season's gone so far, it's been a 2-game slate. Last night, I think, was the first 3-game slate we had for a late night. Tonight, we get 4. The 3 and 4 game slates, if you followed us at DFS Cheat Sheet, you know that I've made a killing on these 3 and 4 game smaller slates. And I love when there's a big tournament with 4 games on the slate. So Texas and Oakland is where this starts. You've got Lance Lynn, Jesus Luzardo, who nobody knows anything about, probably besides us. Chris will break him down. But Lance Lynn, I think this is an intriguing spot for Lance Lynn, because Oakland scored a pile of runs last night in Seattle. Lance Lynn is never, for the course of his career, been a guy that anybody's been excited about, and everybody for the last season and a half has been expecting regression, and it hasn't happened. Like every single time you're like, okay, Lance Lynn had a good start, let me stack against him tonight because I think there's regression coming. It hasn't come. And you look at what he's done in 2 starts this year, 6 innings pitched. He's given up 3 hits in 12 innings, 17 strikeouts in 2 innings. Has he faced 2 lineups that are going to get after you? You can make the argument that Arizona might not, but like I've mentioned before, Arizona's had 3 consecutive winning seasons, so they're a winning ball club. Colorado's got pop in that bat, and it's not just in that lineup, not just at Coors Field, and that's who he's faced, and he's dominated those matchups for 55 and 46 fantasy points. So, I think Lance Lynn, under the radar play, especially at the price tag of 9,300, with a lot of other value on the slate, I don't mind loading him up. I'm not really deeply interested in the Texas lineup. I do think that you can load up Joey Gallo as a one-off play. I think you can play, if you want to get a stack going, it would be centered around Chu and Gallo and maybe Soliak. But Elvis Andrus maybe, but to me, it's really just Chu and Gallo that I would look to get exposure to for me. If you got anything you want to add to the Texas side of it, go ahead before you break down Oakland. But, I'm not excited about Texas in Oakland tonight. It's a colder environment. You got thick marine layer in there. And you need guys who've really got a lot of power to hit the ball out of the ballpark. Otherwise, you're looking for guys to get you, the RBI double and have a big 3 for 4 night with 3 or 4 RBIs. And I just don't see that with any of the other guys in the lineup. It's got to be Gallo. It's got to be Chu for me.
Real quick, I do want to touch on Luzardo real quick. I've made, heck, you've said it a ton of times, so I've made no bones about my love for prospects and researching them, ranking them, talking about them. On a personal level, 2 days ago, I ordered an autographed Luzardo rookie card. It was a Topps. Topps runs those cards, all rookies, football and baseball. And I ordered one from a guy on the West Coast on your side of town. And I couldn't be more excited to receive that in the mail. When you go on FanDuel real quick, I just want to take a couple minutes to call out what the heck is FanDuel doing in Roto Grinders with their analysis. Go on FanDuel real quick. I'm not putting anybody down, but it says today, August 4th at 12:30, their update was analysis, hard throwing lefty. Well, that's great. Thank you for nothing. But what is it? We talked about that. We've shared text messages. I know you work closely with FanDuel. It's nothing against them, but they were working with Number Fire, and I already told you about them and my personal opinions. I'll try to keep it professional for the sake of the DFS article. But just text me, shoot me a phone call. All right, you guys, anything you want. I could spend 10, 12 hours a day writing a little blurb for each player. Trust me, it would be more than hard throwing lefty for Luzardo. I'll tell you that much. Man, oh man. So when we get to the Oakland side of things, Lance Lynn, you're absolutely right. Regression hasn't come. People are still apprehensive to start him in seasonal or add him on their DFS slates per game. But when you look at the Arizona side of things, I think Oakland. I think when Oakland gets it together, it will tonight. They got a bunch of bats in there that I love. To be honest with you, every slate that they've been on, I've stacked them, and it's paid dividends every time. So why wouldn't I do more of that? Simeon is leading off, $3,200. Ramon Laureano in the outfield. What I'm getting at here is these guys are very cheaply priced. Well, cheaply for FanDuel standards for what their output is. If you look at a guy like Simeon, Laureano, Mark Canha, who is sneaky good, who out there knew that he hit, I think he hit 30 home runs last year, 29 or 31, something like that. And he's $2,900. And then Chapman, the anchor of that lineup, stud third baseman, Golden Glove winner, all-star, all that stuff, $3,500. And I have every one of these guys in the top 4, the heart of their lineup, over 10 to 12 fantasy points tonight. They're going to just go absolutely nuts on Lynn like they did, was it last night? They put up 8 runs in the 6th or 7th inning out of nowhere. And again, anybody that's watching this or reads the articles, they know how much me, Jeremy, and Steph love having late night exposure. You get an Oakland stack in there and everybody else's lineups are done. Atlanta, Toronto's done, White Sox, Milwaukee's done, and you get a nice, awesome stack with Oakland, and you put it right in there, you're in the money. Stack Oakland tonight, you won't be sorry.
I like it. I think it's going to be, that's the contrarian play. If you look at the 4 games on the late night schedule, and getting late night exposure, I think when you look at the next game, we're going to talk about Houston to Arizona. I'm so happy to talk about this kid again, and Christian Javier. I'm going to have, on the main slate, I'm going to have so much exposure to this guy that I'll be so overweight on Christian Javier. Look, he's got to get through the Marte brothers, in my opinion. Ketel Marte is the biggest threat in this lineup right now. Starling Marte hasn't produced maybe what they're paying him for yet, but we know the ability of a Starling Marte. To me, that's the 2 guys that Christian Javier's got to navigate through. He's already showed us he can pitch into the 6th inning, going 5 2/3 against the Dodgers. I don't think anybody's going to sit up here and debate that the Dodgers are not a more supreme lineup than the Arizona Diamondbacks. So for me, I couldn't be happy. This feels like the biggest no-brainer of the night, and to start Christian Javier, and I will be way overweight to the field with Christian Javier because of the fact, if you look at what this guy has as far as his pitch mix goes, we've talked about the 95-mile-per-hour fastball. We've talked about the curveball that he throws at 78 to keep guys off balance. He can mix the changeup in there. A ton of break on the curveball, a very electric, lively fastball that he can locate. So he's got 8 strikeouts in his only real start, right, against the Dodgers. That's a very dominant lineup in the Dodgers, very scary lineup to face. You can't tell me that dollar for dollar that Christian Javier doesn't have the same upside as Corbin, Giolito, Lynn, Woodruff, Fried, and Lamet. All these guys price over $8,000, and you look at the top 4 guys on FanDuel with Corbin, Giolito, Lynn, and Woodruff. Javier has all the strikeout upside at 7,200 that those guys have at 9,000 plus. So I'll be so overweight on Javier. As far as the bats go, load them all up. I think I love Madison Bumgarner. I think Bumgarner is going to give you 5 quality innings where he'll give up 3 runs or less, strike out 4 to 5 guys.
For me, guy.
But this lineup, I'm telling you right now, as much as you like Oakland, I like Houston. To me, I think Houston can put up a 10 spot tonight on the Arizona Diamondbacks.
Well, this is perfect because I feel the exact same way, but for Arizona. I fully expect, even before you talked about Javier and the Houston Bats, I fully expect Arizona to go wild tonight on Javier, and his luck will run out tonight in the desert. And looking at Bumgarner this evening, easily found his price. He's $7,700, and by the looks of things, his floor is about 20 points on FanDuel, which is fantastic. I'll pay $7,000, $8,000 if you could guarantee me my pitcher would get 20 to 25 fantasy points every game. Tonight, I think he's in the 30s, maybe the low 40s. I think he mows this lineup down. Personally, he's been throwing a lot of strikes. If I'm not mistaken, again, off the top of my head, Bumgarner has never been a high walk guy. And he only walked 1 his last time out, the 29th in Texas. So I could see a similar situation where he strikes out 8 to 9 Astros and only walks 1 or 2, if that. In terms of the batters, as you said, the Marte brothers, I love what they can do. $3,200 for Ketel Marte, leading off tonight. And then you got Cole Calhoun, another sneaky guy who I know, shaking your head, you don't love him. He was in LA.
No, I'm shaking my head because that was funny with the hook.
Well, yeah, Ketel Marte, I couldn't say it. So Cole Calhoun spent his career in Los Angeles for the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim, however you want to say it. So now he's in Arizona, $2,500. He has yet to have that breakout game where he hits 2 home runs, 5-6 RBIs, because he's good for that. But the only problem is you don't know when you're going to get it from him. You want to stack him, you want to play him against Javier tonight, as you put an electric fastball. They tend to carry. Another guy I love tonight, aside from the Marte brothers, is Christian Walker. Another kid, starting first baseman, $2,700. This guy has some major pop. I know for a fact he hit 29 home runs last year. Nobody even heard of him. Drafting him in seasonal, all formats, and I tend to start him whenever he's in the starting lineup. And tonight he's batting leadoff at home with this lineup backing him up. Marte brothers, Cole Calhoun, and then you got Eduardo Escobar batting fifth, who's a fantastic average guy, on base guy. David Peralta, Carson Kelly. It looks like they got they're going to have to find a place for Carson Kelly and the young prospect Dalton Varsho, who made his major league debut over the weekend, who people were raving for, myself included. So they got two catchers in their lineup tonight. Who's going to go where? We got to wait for those lineups to confirm. But to be honest with you, I love everything about Arizona's lineup tonight.
I love it. I love that you love Arizona's lineup tonight. I love that the last time Christian Javier started, Steph said, hey, this guy might be good, but not tonight, not against the Dodgers. I think that Javier goes out. The thing I like about Javier so much is he has arrogance about him. And he's one of these guys that just doesn't, like, he's got this,
backs it
for
up,
lack of a
though.
better term, he's got swag, man. He just has swag, and he's going to go out and pitch. He's not a guy who looks like he's flappable. So I don't mind the play there, though. So if you want to load up against him. Los Angeles Dodgers in San Diego for the second straight night. Dustin May, my problem with Dustin May is not the price tag. I love the price tag at $5,900. I love the fact that Dustin May has strikeout upside. The guy throws 100 miles an hour. He's done it in both of his starts this year. He's thrown a couple of times where, 99, 100. He's hit it on the radar gun. The problem with Dustin May is I don't think Dave Roberts and his reputation lets Dustin May go very deep into this game. I don't like the fact that he does throw that hard against a fastball hitting team where you've got Tatis, Machado, and those boys that can get after the fastball, Tommy Pham. So Dustin May's not a guy I want to load up because I just don't think he's going to get enough. And until he can prove that he can be consistent, and I think that's why they didn't have him initially on the Major League roster, because he's just a little underpolished at this point in his career. So Dustin May a fade for me. I want a bunch of exposure to the Giants bats. You take a look at Lamet. I think it's a guy that people will be comfortable with. And maybe we'll touch on this, but Lamet's a guy I think you can also use tonight at 8,400. But in his last start, he did run into some problems, and that start got ruined by the Giants, and he only went 5 innings. The Giants were just pesky. He ended up throwing a lot of pitches, but he did have good numbers. I love the left-handed bats in the Dodgers lineup tonight. Start with Max Muncy. You can go with, obviously, Bellinger with the Ken Griffey Jr. imitation last night with the little I know I got that swag walk after he hit it. Get him. Obviously, Corey Seager. I think Corey Seager's having a tremendous season so far and really an under-the-radar season. The guy he's failed to not put up points this year. He's put up points in every single game. The last 2 games, he's 2 for 4 with 12.2 fantasy points. Had a great 2-game series in Arizona. I think he had 3 straight games with a home run, starting back in Houston and the 2 in Arizona. So Corey Seager at 3,500. I love him. That's the 3-man stack I'm rolling out for the Dodgers. If you want to get a fourth, there's a whole bunch of guys you can pick from.
Absolutely. So we're in San Diego tonight. It's 71. Sounds like it's perfect weather. 7-mile-per-hour wind.
When is it not?
Straight to
right.
When
is it not 71 degrees in San Diego? Like December 25th, it's 71 degrees in San Diego.
Absolutely. If I could live anywhere on Earth, it would probably either be San Diego or in Europe, but we'll save that for another time. So tonight, as you touched on, shout out to Steph Lamet, as he said in the broadcast a couple times last week when Lamet was starting. But he had his start ruined. He wasn't punished, let's say, for allowing so many base runners. It was Evan Longoria's sacrifice fly, and he threw a ton of pitches in only 5 innings. As you said, I think he had 91 pitches. 54 of them were for strikes. I'm not shying away from Dilson Lamet tonight. I think tonight, and this is a personal opinion of mine, that it's going to be San Diego's coming out party. I think they put an absolute hurting on the Dodgers tonight at home in San Diego. I love their first 4 in their lineup. Tatis, superstar. Trent Grisham, one of the most underappreciative guys in baseball so far, if I'm not mistaken. $3,000. Manny Machado hasn't done a thing. That changes tonight. Tommy Pham came over from Tampa Bay. He's batting cleanup tonight for them. And then you got, their 5 through 9 hitters are nobody special. Jake Cronenworth.
Love him.
Love him. Yeah. Abram Almonte, Greg Garcia, Francisco Mahaya, their stud catcher prospect who
Meja.
hasn't really done anything yet. And another guy I like when he's in the lineup, left-handed batter, Josh Naylor. He's cheap as can be, $2,100. I'm stacking San Diego tonight, and I'm not thinking twice about it. Hopefully you guys too. Don't at me when it blows up. At me when they put a hurting on the Dodgers, which I think they will.
So I think that you obviously want a game stack of Colorado and the Giants because it's Coors Field. This is another game that I think you want to stack bats in. I really do. I think that this is like a 9-7 game. I think that this is going to be. I couldn't agree with you more as far as a coming out party for San Diego. And I'm glad you mentioned Cronenworth because at $2,400, as far as Luis Robert is one of my very favorite one-off plays. I love Cronenworth in the 5 spot at $2,400 for San Diego tonight. He's put up points in every game he's played in. He hasn't hit a home run yet, but you watched, I believe, the 8th inning last night. The dude squared up a 98-mile-an-hour fastball and just went the other way with it. I mean, just absolutely obliterated. So that's probably my favorite guy in this lineup. And I know they're deep as well. You can get a format stack with those top 4 guys. But Cronenworth for a one-off play and you want late-night exposure, I love this guy in tournaments tonight, especially single entry stuff. Last game of the slate, the Angels are at Seattle. I think the Angels are going to be extremely popular tonight. Starting with Andrew Heaney, it's a very fair price tag for him at $7,300. A couple of really good starts under his belt so far this year. 27 fantasy points last time out against Seattle. 29 fantasy points in his first start against Oakland. 6 strikeouts in each of those games. He hasn't gotten you a quality start yet. He hasn't gotten you a win yet. He's in our cash game core, which kind of like you start to think about it, like, hey, maybe we, don't outsmart it and start thinking you need to stack Seattle against Haney. If you want to leverage, I guess, go ahead. But I love Haney at 7,300. And then you get Mike Trout back, and he's where it all starts and ends, right? You get Mike Trout back. He's to quote your phrase, he's my donger of the night call. I think that, it just feels right. Coming back from paternity list, just welcomed his first child in the world. I'm sure he's going to have an extra little pep in his step, feeling good about life. I love Trout at 4,400. I love Rendon also in this lineup. That's kind of the 2-man stack I'm looking at. And then there's guys we've talked about all season long, and Tommy La Stella and David Fletcher that are also in this lineup. Justin Upton can run into one. So I think the Angels will be a popular stack tonight. I think they'll be the most popular of the late night stacks because the A's just put a hurt on Seattle and that pitching staff. And anytime that a team goes out and scores that many runs, one thing I like to do is always follow it up, because typically when a team gives up a big number like that, the bullpen's been taxed. And then, oh, by the way, Justin Dunn's out there, who probably Chris is the only one who knows anything about.
Little bit. And I'm completely shying away from him. Why would you want to stack Justin Dunn tonight? It's not the night for it. I don't know if any point in the season will be a time to throw Justin Dunn out there for you. But looking at Seattle's lineup real quick, another team who I just have a soft spot for. I make no, what's the word I'm looking for?
Bones. No bones about it.
I've said that already. I was trying to look for another. I've made no, I don't
Qualms?
care.
How about qualms?
Qualms is a good one. I make no qualms about the teams and the players I have soft spots for, because, it makes me a human being, a man. We all play DFS. We all play season long. We all have an opinion. I'm just lucky to have this platform, with Jeremy and CheatSheet to give you my opinion and who I like. And I think that's what makes a successful, fantasy baseball player, DFS player. You show my process, and if you can find your own process in the midst of it, then it's a win-win. So getting back to Seattle's lineup, Shed Long's leading off. Actually, I think it's going to be J.P. Crawford tonight. I just double-checked. And J.P. Crawford has been hot. He's hitting.
Their best hitter right now.
Yeah, coming into the game, he's over 300, 4 RBIs. He's a left-handed bat against Haney, left-handed pitcher, that little lefty-on-lefty action. But Evan White, Kyle Seager, I've mentioned him almost every day. I'm almost sick of saying Seager, but when you're on, right? Kyle Lewis, another stud. Personal note, I own Kyle Lewis across the board. Actually, in like 4 or 5 fantasy leagues, I get an offer for him every night. People are finally paying attention to him and hopefully the Seattle offense here. So Jake Fraley, another guy like in the outfield tonight, batting 8th. Hopefully he plays. If he does, he's only $2,000. So I don't want to say not a lot to like about Seattle, then I'd look silly for contradicting myself, but pick your spots with Seattle tonight. Shed Long, Kyle Lewis, and maybe get some Jake Fraley in your life.
Yeah, man, that's where we're on the slate. As you can see, the promo right now, we've got hockey just started last Saturday. Obviously, MLB and NBA are in full swing. The PGA Championship, the first major of the year, is this weekend, starts on Thursday. Derek will have a full podcast and article with his PGA core plays of who you should load up in that. We've been knocking out MLB and NBA on a daily basis. We've got NASCAR also going. It's a great time to be involved with fantasy. Right now, take advantage of that. Go to our website, dfscheatsheet.com, click on memberships, click on all access luxury box. That gives you full access to every single thing we offer on the site, all sports, all premium content, only $99. That's our season-long package, so you get all of these sports for the remainder of their season. $99, complete access to the optimizer, the entire thing. Use promo code RESTART2020 at checkout. We'll be back tomorrow with more content, another edition of the MLB On Deck show. Until then, be cool. Keep it cashing, guys. Peace out.